Welcome back to Inside the Box podcast. Today, I have a pretty interesting guest here, Joe Miller. Joe Miller has ran 16 ultra marathons, completed a 24-hour run around a high school track, and recently beat the fastest known time for completing the 238-mile Ozark Trail in Missouri by almost a full day, and all by the age of 32. Are you still 32?
I'm 32.
Did I miss anything major accomplishments there in between the articles I read and talking with you?
I think that's pretty spot on. I climbed some mountains out in the Tetons that I'm pretty proud of, but that's not, you're not going to find that probably anywhere,
not as big of a thing. Yeah. Nice. So just kind of the first thing I guess here is just a little bit of background on you. Joe's here from Springfield, and obviously, we're based in Springfield, so bringing him on was, I just had heard about you from Tracy with the running center, and I was like, oh man, that's awesome. I wonder if he'd want to come on just to, I don't know, that's a pretty crazy accomplishments there, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the long distance was kind of an evolution. It didn't just happen overnight, but Springfield has kind of a storied history of really producing some great runners. Matt Flaherty, he's a professional ultra marathoner. He's from Chatham.
Oh, wow.
He lives in Bloomington, Indiana. I follow him, on social media and everything. And Justin Stewart's a local guy who does a lot of ultras too. He's pretty solid in cycling, stair climbing. He even held the 12-hour world record for running the most vertical feet gained in 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it was like 39,000 feet, and he ran up and down the Hilton.
Oh, yeah. What, just for like fun, or was it during like one of their, well, that's pretty crowded. He probably didn't set that accomplishment during
the stair climb. Yeah, he would, I think he wins that, or has won it almost every year. But no, it was like separate, I think. He was like a Guinness World Record.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So just so everybody knows, because I was not aware of this, maybe just tell everybody what an ultra marathon actually is.
Yeah, so an ultra marathon is basically anything over 26.2 miles. So any distance over that. There is like in most sports that are international, there's a governing body, and there's specific distances that are measured for like record runs. There's the 100K is 62 miles, 50K is 31 miles, 100-mile distance. There's the 24-hour distance, 1,000 miles. There's 6-day events. There's all kinds of specific subgenres of ultra running, and there's specialists in each. There's mountain ultra trail running. So
wow, so it gets pretty detailed in the different
whatever you really want to do, so it's kind of interesting though, because I like doing the mountain stuff, and I'm not from a mountainous place. Our biggest hill here is probably Centennial or on Churchill Drive over here. It's off of Jefferson. It's like a 65-foot hill.
I'm trying to picture it. I can't picture it.
It's near Westwoods.
Okay.
It just goes down and up, and it's probably like the biggest within the contiguous city of Springfield. But so I've run up and down that more times than I want to count. But.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I've always wondered, it seems like a lot of people that do like different things. Like I absolutely love to snowboard, and I don't get to do it as much as I want. But I wonder, if I grew up in Colorado, would I like it as much as, you know what I mean? 'Cause it's kind of like a treat when you get to go do it, as opposed to just growing up with it. It's like a normal thing.
Yeah.
But you talking about the mountain climbing and stuff.
Would you lose interest? Yeah.
So when did you do your first ultra marathon?
So my first ultra was in 2013. And it was a 50-mile flat race up in Chicago on the lakefront path. And I did it in, I don't even remember. I want to say maybe 10 hours or so.
Yeah.
There was a guy there that he was from the Midwest. He's from Wisconsin. He ran 5 hours and 10 minutes for 50 miles. It was one of the fastest 50-mile times. So I get to watch him do that.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was sub 6-minute miles. He's just crushing it, and I'm just trotting along, hoping that, this is my first time out here,
Right.
And I had done all the training on my own, I wasn't a collegiate athlete or anything like that. So
did you run just growing up, or when did you really start getting into it?
I ran track in high school.
Where'd you go?
Griffin, Sacred Heart Griffin. to get in shape for soccer season, every year. But, we didn't take it seriously. Like in one of those articles in the SJR, they mentioned that me and my buddy would run to like rallies and we would eat cheeseburgers and smoke cigarettes. And then like the real athletes would go to the like the park and do like, whatever,
right.
the fartleks or, and then we would like walk back, you know. So it wasn't like super serious training,
Right.
But it was, I think,
hey, we're running to achievement there. You rewarded yourself when you got to
No, totally. And some people joke that that's great ultra training because you're like taking in calories while you're running,
Yeah.
But I don't think it was until after I joined the Army Reserves, and it was when I got into the Army Reserves in the initial training, and I could run like a pretty fast 2 mile.
Yeah.
People like the military guys were like, okay, we'll leave this guy alone, like
right.
somewhat, like you can't make your bed or you can't march, but like if you can run like a sub 12-minute 2 mile, like and do push-ups and sit-ups, and I could shoot. I'm not a shoot, like I've never really shot weapons too much, but apparently I was pretty good at that too. So
nice. I've done a little bit of shooting. There was a place we used to go down by Litchfield for shotgun shooting, like clay pigeons and stuff.
Okay.
I always called it like a shooting golf course.
Yeah.
Because you're like back in the woods, going to different stations and different scenarios and pigeons different ways. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
But I had never really shot a gun, and my dad and uncle took me out to do that, and I just kicked their ass the first time. And all I could attribute it to was video games, possibly. You know what I mean? I played a lot of first-person shooter video games growing up, and I was like, I wonder if that's why I did so good. And
I mean, I was like obsessed with like Counter-Strike and
exactly.
like Half-Life.
Yep,
yeah,
that's
and all
exactly.
those,
I played Counter-Strike, and I did a lot of Halo, and so that's kind of interesting. But so you said that first one was in 2013.
2013. I think I was in the military in 2009. The initial training was like 2010. So this is right around there. I ran a little bit when I got out. I was more into like lifting weights and stuff. We were, my cousin and I think this was like in 2012, maybe on Christmas Eve, actually. We were downtown at the old Marley's. I forget what it's called now, but
I think it's closed down, actually.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. We were at Marley's and we were drinking. I think we might have closed it down. Not sure. We had brunch the next day with our parents, and we were kind of hungover. And he's like, "I want to climb a mountain." And I was like, "Okay, I've never climbed a mountain. What mountain?" And he showed me a picture of the Grand Teton.
Yeah.
And when you look at
Beautiful.
it, yeah, it's just this
Gorgeous.
Aesthetic peak. And I was like, "Sure, yeah, I'm." Ignorance is bliss, and so I was like, "Yeah, let's do that."
It's different than running on flat ground for sure.
Totally, and I was like, I don't know the first thing about climbing, so the silo in Rochester was open.
Oh yeah,
and we decided
the place was fun.
Yeah, it was great.
It's not open anymore though.
It's
right?
not, no. But I think all the stuff's still there. I'm not sure, but we went there like every day for 6 months. It was
just so everybody knows. If you don't know, the silo was an old grain silo. And they turned it into like a climbing place with the fake, I don't know what those are called. But
climbing holds.
Yeah, climbing holds.
Yeah, it was like, I think 60, 70 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been there a couple times. It was a cool place.
It is a really cool place. And there's places in Bloomington.
I was going to say, I think the closest place now that I know of at least is Bloomington.
There's a new place called First Ascent just opened in Peoria.
Okay.
Not too long. It was actually right before the pandemic, unfortunately for them. But,
That's tough.
Yeah.
So the first, you guys went and did the Teton then? Did you do that?
6 months later, after we had that, we were standing on top of Grand Teton, and we made a ton of mistakes. But when we were on the side of the mountain, there's this like ledge, and it's called a belly crawl, and you kind of got to like shimmy across it, and there's a huge drop.
Like against the wall or on your belly?
No, it's like a ledge like this, and you could like crawl and like kind of like get in there, or you can like go on the side and like shimmy across.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big drop.
Right.
And we were like standing there waiting for another party to go, and these two, this man and woman, and I swear it's just like one famous ultra marathoner, but my cousin's unsure if it is because it's hard to say like our memories, but he was around the Tetons at the same time. But they pass us in like a t-shirt and shorts, and they're like, "Excuse me," and then they just like shimmy across, and then they just disappear up the mountain, and then like 20 minutes later they come back by us, right? And I'm like, that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, and I have like a rope dangled on me, and like all this like gear. And
isn't that funny though? So I've done a couple hikes on different mountains and stuff, and I'm like feeling like I'm all badass, like doing this hike, and then like a large lady passes me going up the mountain. I'm like,
just a steady clip.
Yeah, it kind of makes me feel like I'm not that badass.
Yeah, totally.
Like, how's this lady doing this?
But they just looked like they were having so much fun, and I was just like, that was cool. So that was like the first like thing that started. I was like, whoa, maybe I'm doing this wrong,
So I've been to Jackson Hole.
Okay.
That's how I've seen the Tetons or whatever. Fished at a pond down there near there, and we went up into Yellowstone and stuff.
Okay.
So beautiful
Did you
mountains.
fly fishing?
No, we were it was in high school. We were in my girlfriend at the time's father's boat out on the lake. Just beautiful. We camped right next to the water.
Yeah.
Went out there and fished.
Is it Jackson Lake or Jenny Lake?
I think it's Jenny.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but that sounds right. Jenny Lake. I'm pretty sure that was it.
Well, that first trip to the Tetons led to, I think I went out there 5 more times.
Yeah. So I want to go snowboarding. I mentioned I love to snowboard. I want to go snowboard in the Tetons. I've never been there.
So I've never been skiing or snowboarding, but from everyone I've talked to, you have to go to Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. It's like,
It seems like just from, you liking the endurance things and liking the mountain stuff, I feel like they have these like, I guess cross country. Would it be considered cross country? I don't know. Basically, though, they have these things where you have your skis, and on the bottom you put like skid pads.
Okay.
So you can go up a mountain with them.
Yeah, for ski mountaineering.
Yeah, they grip, and then you just get to ski down. I personally am not interested in doing that, but it seems like something that you might like.
So totally. A lot of ultra runners, they in the winter they just become ski mountaineers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just it's basically hike up and ski down, and that's their that's so they don't wear their body down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not running year round. So some of these guys will do ski mountaineering competitions or whatever to stay in shape, but not just beat up their body year round.
So do you run every day? Getting in
just about.
miles?
I have a running coach, so
okay.
I got his name's Matt Daniels, and he's great. I got him in. I hired him in 2018, and so he has me doing basically every Monday is a rest day. And so at first I like fought that idea, right?
Yeah.
I was like, no rest, I'll never get better if I rest. Like, it's like a weakness thing.
Right.
Yeah. And so eventually though,
rest is good for everything.
It's so good. And now I'm like, I'm looking forward to the rest day, So I take Mondays off. But yeah, 6 days a week. Sometimes, you have to run 7 days a week leading up to a race or whatever. But when I'm actually training, it's probably like between 60 and 100-mile weeks.
Wow.
And then depending on the type of race, it will be, adding an elevation. So there's a place up in Peoria I go, and you can get like, between 2,000 and 4,000 feet of vertical gain in like a 20-mile run.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so just trying to get the vertical gain up, and yeah, so sometimes like for the Ozark, the 230, I was averaging around 20-hour weeks of running.
Wow.
Which was my wife was like sort of okay with. She was like, hey, "This is gonna end though, right?"
So, when was the last time you did a ultra marathon? I know it says 16 of them, right?
Yeah, I think I've probably done closer to, because not all of them are on the ultra sign up thing. So I think I've probably done like 22 total.
Wow.
This year was kind of weird with the pandemic. I only did one actual race.
Are most of them you do like registered events that you go do, or?
So from 2017 to like 2019, I did 21 in like 3 years.
Wow.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I was doing like 6 or 7 a year, anywhere from like 50K to 24 hours. And most of them are races though. I just started I always followed the FKT, the fastest known time. It's like kind of a community. I think it was started by a couple guys in Boulder, Colorado, and they started tracking a lot of the local mountains that they would run.
And you like just register your time on it?
Yeah, you have to verify with like a GPX file.
I was gonna say, how do they regulate that?
Yeah, and then like you have to write up a narrative of it, and then they like read the narrative and then,
accept it or whatever.
Yeah, reject it or say like, hey, it's
That's cool.
You're suspicious, right? Like
how did you do this in 1 hour?
Yeah. Or other people will, right?
Yeah.
Because they like know the terrain or whatever. So it's a really cool community though, because it's exploded with the pandemic. So there's a website that chronicles all of it. And so I did, this year I did 2 FKTs. I did the Ozark Trail, and then I did this thing called the Smokies Challenge Adventure Run, which is a very, for short, they call it the SCAR. And the SCAR is you're basically running from the eastern terminus of Smoky Mountains National Park to the western terminus along the Appalachian Trail.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's a 70-mile run. It has 18,000 feet of vertical gain. Wow. And I think the fastest known time was like 15 hours and 30 minutes, and I ran it in 15 hours and 6 minutes. Wow. So I nabbed the FKT.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So fun. Do you just like, how do you pick these? Like, do you just like see like, oh, that'd be cool to do. What's the fastest known time? I'm going to go try to beat that. Is that kind of, you just kind of look it up and decide you want to try? Or
yeah, I think I've like, this one was kind of cool because there's like, I kind of pick ones where there's like a community around it. Like there was a website, and like the big thing with the SCAR is to do it in under 24 hours. So like kind of in my head, that was that's the goal A, right? That's the primary goal, is to finish in under 24 hours. The second goal is to, you know, make sure I don't get injured really badly. And then the third goal is, you know, if I could do it fastest known time, so be it. That sounds great.
Do you set out though with the pace, like I got to do this in this amount of time, I need to complete this?
Depending on the training, right? Like it all depends on how well my training went, and like honestly, the build up to that was great. I started feeling very strong, and like I started to think that this is totally possible. Like, and I feel the confidence, and you know, talking to Matt, the coach, and he was just like, you know, you should be able to push out at that pace, and if you fall apart, you know, just get some water, collect yourself, you know, all that. And I actually came through the first 30 miles. You basically just run uphill for 30 miles to the only road you cross the entire time, which is Newfound Gap. And I got to Newfound Gap, and it was 6 hours. And that was like, I think 30 minutes faster than the previous fastest guy. Wow. And so I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing. You know, like right. It might not be a good thing. And it wasn't the best thing the next like 10 miles, like, because it's also at altitude.
Yeah, it gets harder.
Yeah, it was like between 4 and 6. Yep. And so, yeah, it's more of a confidence building, like during the process, right? Yeah. Like that's when I know, like, I don't know when I like find it. I'm like, okay, this might be possible for me. And then let's see what the training, how it pans out. And then I started building confidence along the way. So just
so people know that might not understand this, and I just know a little bit, but when you're hiking or mountain climbing or running or whatever, as you get higher in altitude, there's less oxygen, so it does make it more difficult to do it in general, right?
To breathe, and we're at 600 feet here, so we're not acclimated to that, and it takes about anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 months to be fully acclimated. Like 3 weeks is like adaptations start to occur in your lungs and your heart and all that, like the blood volume starts increasing. And I'm not a scientist, so I don't. I have a degree in political science from UIS.
Doesn't qualify for this, but general understanding.
Yeah.
No, my brother and I thought it'd be cool to go do what is it, Machu Picchu? I think, you know, I got into. He got me into it for a while there. We did some backpacking and stuff. It was so awesome, just seeing the terrain is just beautiful, you know, and. That was one thing we had talked about, but we were talking about how like a lot of people go there and they stay for like a week or whatever to let their body get a little more acclimated to the altitude and then take off and try to do the hike and everything.
Totally.
Which looks cool. And I heard they were like cutting back or doing something that was going to make it harder to be able to do that. But
I think they rerouted a trail or something.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, my wife did it. I think 2 years ago. She was down in Cusco,
cool.
and
is she a runner also?
She runs, but like she's a more relaxed runner.
Yeah.
Not trying to do anything like I'm doing. You know, like 30 minutes here or there on the treadmill, sometimes outside. And, she does a lot of yoga. She did backpacking, like wilderness therapy. She did Outward Bound and took kids out into nature for 30 days. And so she knows how to do it slow. Like she likes a long, slow route, and I'm like, let's just hammer that 30 miles. You know, so
that's funny. Yeah. Do you ever train on the treadmill, or you just mostly get out and during the winter or anything?
No, I have a treadmill that goes to 40% incline. So it's like it's pretty steep, and it can go to decline too. So
interesting.
Yeah, it goes to -6%. So in the winter, and when I'm like focusing on like a mountain race, you just have to run uphill on the treadmill.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll do that. Maybe I'll start out at like once a week, and then eventually it will be like 2 to 3 times a week. But I also have a bike trainer that has like a road bike attached, and you can do some like altitude, not altitude, but you can do some elevation training on that. So I'm going to start using that as a.
Does doing like biking help with running then?
Well, for the longest time, like before I had a coach, right, I kind of just like thought I knew everything, right? And like I ended up breaking myself multiple times, like doing like stupid things through overtraining. And so, I think biking is like a great accessory, like if you have a little bit of an injury, or if you just want to add like a little bit more volume, add 1 or 2 or 3 bikes.
I assume it's not as hard on like the legs joints. Or knees joints.
Yeah, it's like the knees and the ankles. And so it's good. It builds lung capacity, I think. And I'm just going to try to keep it at like twice a week. And then I also have a climbing wall in my backyard.
Oh, that's cool.
My neighbors were like, we moved in and I was like, they're like, what are you doing out there? Like building a temple? Like,
yeah.
I was like, I was like, no. It's just like a 15-foot climbing wall. And they're like, a climbing wall.
Is that all it is? Just a straight wall up you made?
No, it's at an incline. So it's like that. And you climb up.
Just made out of wood? Or?
Yeah. It's like 4x8 sheets of plywood. I think like 6 of them.
Nice.
It has a bunch of holds and.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's like kind of cross training but it's really the type of climbing it's called bouldering. So it's like short, really strong movements.
Yeah.
It's not conducive.
Because you're inclined backwards is
totally,
what you're saying?
Yeah. So you're just like this. And it's not really conducive to building muscle for like a runner.
Right.
But like I don't care. I love it. It's fun to
Personally, I've never been into like, running just always got me. Maybe that's just because like I have never done it consistently enough to get past the point to where it's like not terrible.
No, that's important. Yeah, it takes about like 6 months.
In my head, I still want to try to get there at some point to where I can go out and run a couple miles and feel good about it and not just feel like I'm dying. But that's one of the things I struggle with now is like, running this business and kids and all this stuff, it's hard to like set aside time to go do that extra stuff. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I know that's an important part of life, staying active and physical, but I've always been a fan of, I should say I've just never really been a fan of traditional working out. It's like in the gym, lifting weights, like going out and being active, like playing basketball or hiking and climbing, like that stuff was always awesome. You know what I mean? That's what I always loved, and I need to kind of get back into that routine again of doing some of that stuff.
It's totally interesting because like I went through like, and I think a lot of people do this, they hop around, right? Like, whatever your circumstances are at that time, like you kind of focus more in. And so like, between 2013 and 2016, I was doing a lot of heavy weights. I was doing these things called step ups where you just like step up like a 16-inch step with like a weighted pack. Mm-hmm. And I would do like, there was some weekends where I would do, between 4,000 and 6,000 step ups in the basement of the Y downtown, and that was like to get training for like mountain climbing and stuff. And so I think a lot of that, like, and I did a lot of weightlifting, like powerlifting stuff. And I think that really helped with, later on, more currently with like not getting stress fractures. My bones are a little bit stronger from doing all that weight training in my mid-20s. Now I don't do it really that much anymore, but like it was just at the time that made more sense than logging these long miles because you had to buy the shoes and it's just a lot of planning. And I was working like a job at the Capitol, and it was like kind of a grind. Mm-hmm. So a lot of hours, and you just get up in the morning, go to the gym, an hour and a half, and then go to work, right? So I have a little bit more flexibility now, which, I don't have kids, or, we got 2 dogs and they run with me. So
those are your kids.
Yeah. And they can run, they can run 10 miles with me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So they're pretty quick, not like, I'm not like
leaving
dragging
them behind.
Yeah. I mean, I had to talk trash to them sometimes, I'm like, you guys got 4 legs. I got 2. But
that's funny. So, where, like, maybe like, where are some of the like most interesting places maybe you have run? Have you gone like out of the country running at all or anything like that?
I haven't gone out of the country. I did a race up in the Payette National Forest up in northern Idaho.
Okay, I don't even think I've heard of
do you know where McCall is? McCall, Idaho?
I can't picture it. No.
Coeur d'Alene?
I know Coeur d'Alene. Yeah,
Coeur d'Alene.
I spent the night there on a road trip one time. That place is beautiful.
Yeah, it's extremely beautiful. But like I think it's about 3.5 hours southeast of there is where McCall is.
Oh, okay.
And it's adjacent to, like, the Payette National Forest attaches to the River of No Return Wilderness, a bunch of wilderness areas. And I think it's the largest contiguous wilderness area in the United States.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it's really cool. It's a 107-mile loop, and it's just like through the mountains and at like 22,000 feet of gain. And there's, mountain lions, bears, moose, everything out there, So that was probably the most like scenic thing that I've done, besides, I would say, actually the Ozark Trail, because I have a special place for the Ozark Trail now that I've run the 238 miles. But I've gone to Leadville, Colorado, Provo, Utah. I've run races in the mountains outside. Park City was in August. But I've done a lot of local stuff. Yeah. Because shockingly, Illinois has 6 100-mile races.
Really?
Yeah, we have a pretty significant or sizable ultra running community.
I was going to say, do you think that's why? Is it because of the communities here that the races exist, or that the races were here and it's kind of created the community, you think?
I think that the communities were here.
And kind of created
but there's a race down in Southern Illinois that's like the fastest one in the country. The world record, I think, is there for the trail 100-mile distance. It's like 12 hours, 8 minutes. And that's in Tunnel Hill. It's like the Tunnel Hill Trail.
Is that the one that's the old train track?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and they converted it to like a crushed limestone bike path.
Yeah, we talked about going down there with the kids, when they get a little bit older, for the bike path.
Yeah, totally. And Garden of the Gods is down there.
Garden of the Gods is beautiful.
Yeah, there's so many gems down there in the Shawnee.
I know, and it's tough. And like it's weird that growing up, I don't feel like we ever went to any of these places. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, why didn't we never come down here or anything? There's so many beautiful places that are close.
Totally.
Like even
New Salem.
Well, New Salem, but Carpenter Park.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gergens.
Yeah. We were there hiking before it started getting cold, in October, and, all the trees were changing colors. And I was like, I don't think I've ever been to this park. I was like, how have I lived here most of my life and we've never came here? It's like I didn't even feel like I was like in Springfield, like hiking through there. You got the river, and yeah, it was just really cool.
It's gorgeous. Lewis Memorial Acres is right over here. Mm-hmm. That they have a nice trail. Centennial has a nice trail. New Salem, Pierre Marquette is like a hidden gem, I think. I don't know that people around here.
Where's that at?
It is west of Grafton, Illinois, or west of Alton.
Okay, I think I've seen that for some reason. I've never gone to it, but I feel like I've seen the name or something on a map or trail map or something.
I mean, there's rock climbing down there. There's a 20-mile bike path that connects Alton to it. Peoria is just like crazy. There's all these hills and the River Bluff Trail system and Farmdale Reservoir. There's just a crazy amount of trails that.
How do you typically find stuff like that when you're looking for something new to do or something like that?
So actually, have you ever heard of Strava?
I don't think I have.
It's like a social media channel for runners, cyclists, but it tracks. It has a lot of data. And so it puts all your heart rate, your pace, all that stuff. It shows the elevation profile of the climbs. But it has this cool feature where you can search for routes people have done. And so I look on that, and then I cross-reference that with there's other Facebook groups that I join, like the Central Illinois Trail Alliance, Trail Running Alliance, And a lot of people will just post hey, where's new members will just be where are all the trails? And sometimes I'll just read the comments and I'll be like, oh, that's a new trail I've never even heard of. You know,
where's the best place to go?
Some local, just so
nice. Yeah. So let's talk about the Ozark Trail a little bit. You beat this. You set the record for this by almost a day. What was it, 19 hours or something?
Yeah, about 19 hours.
Beat it by 19 hours. Mm-hmm. What was the total time it took you?
So it was 88 hours.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it was. I hadn't ever done anything where I would call it a multi-day. The longest up to that point that I had run was 117 miles, and that was on the track at a track 24-hour where you just ran around a high school track for.
That's crazy.
Hours.
That's crazy too.
Yeah, no, it was that one was a little
24 hours straight.
Yeah, I hadn't really planned on doing that race. I had done a 50-mile about a month before, and I ran that 50-mile race real hard. It was up on trails, and I won it in 7 hours and 30 minutes. And so I was feeling on top of the world after, right? I was like, oh, I just won this race. I ran really fast. I missed the course record by 4 minutes, but it was okay, whatever. And so I was like, oh, this looks like a cool thing. It kind of scares me, the idea of running around a track for 24 hours.
And you just eat while you're running, or not eat at all.
That's funny because there was a guy. His name's Pete Costellnick. He's a professional runner. He has the record for running across America.
Jesus.
Yeah, I think he did it in 42 days, which is like 72 miles a day.
Wow.
And he has done a bunch of these. I think he's ran 160 miles in 24 hours, right? And so he had run from Alaska to Key West. It was 5,300 miles, and he did it in like 105 days or something. I don't remember how long it took, but he ran through Springfield, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I ran with him through Springfield, and he stayed at our house. And so I kind of developed a friendship with him, and I was like, oh, I'll message, Pete. And he's like, 24 hours are always like kind of a shit show. Like it's kind of hard to
just
determine.
the logistics around it, bathroom, eating, like so many
Focus,
things.
Yeah. And so he said, find something that you'll eat no matter what. And so I was like, okay, well, cinnamon rolls. Like I will eat cinnamon rolls like whenever.
They are delicious.
Yes. And McDonald's fries. Like I don't ever eat fast food really, but McDonald's fries, I can just like, they have salt, for electrolytes. So basically my wife was there, and I also had created a really stupid plan. I was like, I'm going to just run the first 120 miles at like 9-minute pace and then just walk the rest. And that worked really well until it didn't around mile 80. And my knee had like swollen up, and I like just walked off the thing, and I was like, I quit, I was like, I'm done. And my wife, I was like, take me to the hotel, Valerie. And she was like, this is a 24-hour race. There's no hotel. So like, you got to go back out there. And I was like, I don't want to go back. I was having a pity party in the back of the car. And she was just like, no, you need to go back out there. And after like 40 minutes, I like went back out there and like walked a couple laps and then started jogging again and ended up finishing. And I won it in 117 miles. So that was the longest, right? And it's radically different than running a trail for 230 miles, So I kind of knew that like I felt awful after the track run, and my knee was swollen, and I was like, well, the ground's going to be a little softer. It's not going to be that
right,
hard plastic around. And so my plan was to get as familiar with the trail as I could leading up to it. So I ran there's 8 sections total, and I ran the first 4 sections over separate weekends leading up to it.
Oh, kind of just checking it out,
seeing
what you were in for.
Totally, just seeing what the train looked like and how fast I could run it. And then the last 4 sections were a part of a 100-mile race that they held the weekend before I planned on doing it. And so like the Ozark Trail Association, which is this really phenomenal organization that maintains the Ozark Trail system, because it's actually like 350 miles of trail. But this is the only continuous section.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of other side trails, but they maintain it, and they do a really great job organizing, building trail, And for the 100-mile, they would leaf blow the trail so you could see all the rocks, and so the last 100 miles is like pristine,
Nice.
So I was like, I know when I get to that section, I'll be able to tear it up, I'll be ready to run.
Right.
And it didn't really work out totally like that, but because you're already 117 miles in when you hit that part. But my plan was to run unsupported, which means you carry everything, right?
Right.
All your food.
Whereas opposed somebody would either be with you or meeting you somewhere. Is that what?
Yeah.
Supported would mean?
Yeah. Technically, there's supported and then self-supported, and self-supported means you could ask people for things, you could be like, if I saw you on the trail, I'd be like, hey, can I get some water? And you'd be like, yeah, and you'd give me some water, right? You didn't carry that, so,
yeah.
Or if you bought it from a gas station or whatever.
Right.
So there's those 3 styles: supported, unsupported, and self-supported. So I was like, I'm going to do unsupported. I did the SCAR unsupported. It's nobody had done it unsupported. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I could be the first person to do this unsupported.
Yeah.
So that's what really drew me to it, and it was scary, being out there alone. I might sleep on the trail. That's what I told myself. I was like, I'm just going to curl up on the trail and take a trail nap,
Yeah. Let's walk through kind of the days. So the first day, what time you get? Where did it start at, and what time did you get?
So it started in the 11-point section, which is pretty close to Arkansas.
Okay.
And the 11-point river is a pretty scenic river. My buddy had driven down from Chicago. We camped the night before at this campground. We got up at like 4, and it was like. Are
you talking about Zach by chance?
Yeah, Zach Diggins.
Nice.
Yeah, you know Zach?
Yeah, he went to school with me. He's,
cool.
He's a little younger than me, but yeah.
Yeah. You went Southeast?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but he's great. He was he's like, hey, I'm gonna come down for like 1 or 2 days, and just make sure you're gonna be okay, you know. And so we camped. We drove to the start.
Also a crazy runner.
Totally, yeah. And part of the reason, like, he's done a 240-mile run in Moab. You know, he did it in 85 hours.
Yeah, I know he's done some crazy stuff. I haven't followed close enough to know exactly, but yeah, I know
just
he's
big.
super into running.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why I figured maybe that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, totally. No, so we've been friends since we grew up together. We played soccer together going back. Yeah. When we were just little kids. But yeah, he drove me to the start, and I was sitting in the car, and I was supposed to start at 4 a.m. and I was like, it is way too cold. It's like 21 degrees. Like, I don't want to get out there. Like, I'll just eat some more food.
When was this?
This was I think November.
Okay, so
like
yeah,
15th,
definitely in
16th.
the cold.
But the crazy thing, the part of the reason I switched the time period when I was going to do it, because the weather, there's this weather window where it was going to be like 3 or 4 days of like sunlight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it was like in the 40s, and then it got up to like the 50s.
That's probably a good temperature too, just because you don't want it to be like hot, when you're carrying all your crap and stuff. So
you want it to be hot, and like my concern was, since it's a massive like watershed in a lot of the portion, and you cross so many of these rivers and streams and creeks, if there's a lot of rain, flash flooding is like pretty serious.
Yeah.
And some of it's impassable during flash flooding. So I was kind of like I was trying to like find the perfect weather window, and I thought I did. And except for, the morning was like 21. I was like, oh, I love cold weather. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't want to go out there. But since it's a fastest known time, you can start whenever you want. So I was like, I'll just sit in the car, Zach, just eat some food, drink some water. And then I waited till the sun came up and started at 6:52. And I had a 33.5-pound pack, which was way heavier than I had trained with or planned on. But I was feeling so strong that I was like, I got this. I'll be okay. I immediately ran into like 3 or 4 hunters, because it was firearm season. So it was rifle season down there. So I, the first day was like probably 20 or 30 gunshots. Yeah. Well, whenever I saw a deer, I was like, get out of here.
So you have to wear like bright orange and everything.
Yeah, I had blaze orange. I had like a stocking cap and
So how far did you go on the first day? Do you remember?
The first 19 hours, I made it 60 miles, and that's when I stopped and I saw Zach, and I was like, hey, I got to do it supported from here on out, because like I tripped, or I like stumbled over this log and twisted my right knee, and that was like 8 or 9 hours in, or no, it was like 10 or 11 hours in, but twisted my knee, and then after that, it started just like cascading of like negativity mentally, right?
Isn't that crazy how much, like, whether you're backpacking or I assume running long distance, just how mentally strong you have to be on top of the physical? Because I know, like, when I did some backpacking trips with my brother, there was like, we were on our way back to the car, like at the end of like a 3 or 4 day backpacking trip, and I'm just like getting so frustrated, and like everything was just pissing me off.
Yeah,
like
just the littlest thing would set you off.
Yeah, but anyway, so that was 19 hours you'd heard.
Yeah, and just everything was going wrong, right? I was just like, I missed my water stop, this stream that I was supposed to pull water from, and like, so I didn't have water for like 5 or 6 hours. And
how were you getting your water? Did you have like one of those like pens, or
it was a
filter?
Oh, not the pen. Those are cool. I had it's called a Sawyer squeeze, so it has like a little pouch, and you fill up the pouch, and then you just squeeze it
through. Yeah,
and it was working really well, and it did the entire time, but I had read all the maps. I knew where all the water, or I thought I knew where all the water was, and I was like, oh, I'll just wait till the next one. And then I knew that this section didn't have like as much water because I'd run it before, and I just missed it. And then I kept getting lost because of the leaf cover and like missing trail markings and going off trail and tripping, and it was just
everything.
Yeah, it was cold, and
everything was fighting against you.
Totally. And so I saw Zach, and he's like, "Dude, what's wrong? You're 3 hours behind what you said you were gonna be. So like he was like concerned, and I was telling him all the things that were going wrong, and he was like, I was like, I want to quit. You know, he's like, hey, just take a nap. You know, I took a swig of water. That's when it became supported. And I went to bed. I slept in my 0-degree sleeping bag next to the car on the ground. And then I woke up like 3 or 4 hours later, and I was still pretty adamant about quitting. But Zach said I shouldn't. My wife said I shouldn't. And then I had 2 aunts that came down to just like kind of see me along the way. And both of them said I shouldn't. So I
got that little bit of encouragement there.
Yeah, no, I still wanted to quit.
I think in your article, in the article I read about you, I think it said that. I think I remember reading that you had, you know, were getting kind of beat up, and then was it Zach that said to you, you know, plans change, but the goal stays the same or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that. I read that. I was like, man, that's awesome. What a good little saying there.
Yeah, no, it was like the perfect thing. And he said that, and I was just like, it kind of clicked, but I was still like fighting it. I was still like, no, I'm going to quit, you know, but like I thought about what he was saying as I was saying. It was like, you know, the devil on the shoulder, you know, I had 2 people on my shoulders.
Right.
And so I finally went back out there, and I was thinking about that.
That's what it was, right? Plans change, but the goal stays
Plans
the same.
change, goals don't. Yeah. And I was thinking about that like the entire time. I started back out there, and I think it was like a 4-hour total break. Started back out on the trail, and once I lightened the pack to like 10, 15 pounds, I mean, after about the first 2 or 3 miles, like I started running.
So
again.
what did you get rid of, like decide to sacrifice to lighten the pack there?
Well, so I knew that he was just going to basically meet me at every trailhead, and each trailhead's like 30 miles apart.
Oh, so since you're doing the supported or whatever.
Yeah, so I just knew I could. So like basically I had this block of food that probably weighed like 20 pounds of like pro bars and like.
And you don't think about it, and I didn't know this either until I started hiking with my brother, but like every little ounce, like it just counts when you're carrying a bag of like everything, you know what I mean? It's
Start
crazy.
Cutting off tags,
Yeah,
you know, on clothing.
It's crazy what a big but how much of a difference it makes.
Totally. And yeah, so I just basically started losing the weight, and I started running a little bit here and there, and then before I knew it, I was just like running the entire Current River section, and I had done it the weekend before, you know, as a practice run, and it was miserable during the practice run because it was like 80 degrees randomly in November, and it was a little colder now, but like it wasn't miserable anymore, and I came through this like hedgerow. I had to take a bypass because of hunting around the trail. That you only have to do for hunting, and I came through I turned on the bypass, and I came through, and there's like this hedgerow, and you come out the hedgerow, and there's this massive field, and there's a huge elk just standing in the field.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and they're trying to reintroduce elk in the Peck Ranch region, and so it was really cool. He just like looked at me, I looked at him, like he went back to eating grass, and I went back to running, you know, along the trail.
Yeah.
And, but
nice.
yeah, we and so I ran that entire section. It's probably the Current River section's the most scenic section I think in Missouri that I've been on. Mm-hmm. It has just prominent like rock outcroppings, and Stegel Mountain is this really prominent point. It rises to like 1,300 or 1,400 feet, and you can see for like I would say hundreds of miles in all directions around from the summit of that mountain. And there's these things called glades. And they're like, it's an ecosystem that's created on top of these rock outcroppings. And it's like a desert environment. Huh. So it's like, there's lizards up there and like tarantulas and stuff.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. And it's like pretty barren. And it has to do with, it goes back to like some of the forestry of the Mark Twain region. Like, I think that there was some fires, and we could probably do a whole different episode on the forestry of the region. But yeah, so I felt good. I had some phone service. That was the first time, and so on top of the mountain because I knew I did from last weekend. And so I called Zach. I called my wife. I called my best friend. Nobody answered, and so I ended up like. I called my boss, and I was just like, "Hey, what's going on at work?"
I need to talk to somebody here.
Yeah, I was bored. I just needed to have like a human connection. So he like talked to me for a few minutes, and then like everyone started calling me back. And then I was like, "Hey, meet up at this trailhead to Zach," you know. And then I ran through the Current River section, super scenic. Saw Zach. Basically, from there on out, it was like I was like, I can do this. Like, I know that I can do it. I can finish it. And that was, I got done with the Current River section. It was like 3 or 4 p.m. I was like, I'm going to take a 2-hour nap, and I'm going to start the next section. So I slept next to the fire Zach built, in my 0-degree sleeping bag. I woke up like pouring sweat because it was like way too hot.
Too close to the fire.
Too close to the fire. And I woke up at like 6 p.m. and then I think I was on the trail by 7. And this section was nuts because it was at night and you go up this like massive rock outcropping that overlooks the Current River.
So were you wearing just like a headlamp or something?
Yeah, I had a Petzl headlamp with 2 rechargeable batteries and then another backup. And those last like 6 hours. But this section was like, it was a lot of leaves covering the trail.
I want to say that'd be crazy running through the forest at night.
Yeah, it was, but I had done this one the weekend before, so I was like kind of confident about it. I mean, it's
at night?
Not at night, but I've run at night before, so I was kind of like, I got this, there's no hunters, so there's mountain lions, there's black bear down there, there's
do you carry anything in case you run into any of these things?
No, I had a trekking pole, like fend them off with that.
I'll run from you.
yeah.
I'll outrun you.
Yeah, I was just gonna yell at them. Yeah. That was kind of my plan, but so it's funny though, like I was marching through the woods at night and my glasses started fogging up, right? And because it was pretty cold and my hands were getting cold and I had all my layers on at this point because like I kept having to duck my hands in the water to fill up,
Right.
And I don't know, it was probably like 30 degrees or whatever. It just felt pretty cold. I put on all the layers I had on and my glasses were fogging up and I just hear all this grunting around me and I'm like, that's weird. Are those bears? Like, what is that? I saw movement and it was feral pigs.
Oh, shit.
And they're an invasive species down there.
Yeah.
But it was like...
Some of those can be pretty dangerous, I think, too, to, like, even people.
Yeah. I figured... I mean, I've heard about them, but, like, I hadn't actually seen any of them. But there was, like, a dozen of them. And they were in, like, a pack. And they were pretty large. And I was just grateful that they weren't. Like, I was like, is it a family of bears?
Yeah.
Like, because I was, your mind's just going... And so I, like, saw them, and I yelled at them, and they, like, scurried off up the hillside. But... I rolled both of my ankles in that section in the night.
Jesus.
At different points.
Rocks and stuff, man. It's just what kind of
leaf covered.
What kind of shoes do you wear for something like this? Because you're not wearing traditional running shoes, right?
No, I wear.
Is there like a specialized like mix shoe or like boot or like something?
Yeah, they like make trail runners with like heavy lugs that like grip into the ground. But the trail runner that I was using had it was like an ankle support. So it was like 13 ounces. So it's super lightweight, but it was like above the ankle. And they were waterproof. Mm-hmm. But the problem with them being waterproof is that most of the streams go above your ankles. And so like they become waterlogged.
Right, if it gets in there.
And I've had the beginning stages of trench foot before at an ultra. And so like I was like, I'm definitely going to get trench foot if I'm running in wet feet for 3 days.
Yeah.
So I bought these like motorcycle gaiters that like motorcyclists use that go up to your knee and they're completely waterproof, except they're 1.5 pounds each.
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah, so like I had to carry those, but like my feet stayed dried the entire time.
Yeah, I had like half gaiters that I wore on one of our
Did they
backpacking trips. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think they clipped. I think that's what I don't even actually, now that I think about it, I don't even know if I ended up having to use them.
Okay.
But I bought them because we were going up into the enchantments.
Oh, okay. Up in the
Washington.
Cascades.
Yeah. I don't think I ended up having to use them, but yeah, I think they like, if I remember correctly, they clipped to the shoe, I believe.
Yeah, because the problem is
but that wouldn't really help with your situation,
because I think that it would still go in the shoe, and then and that was why I was like, okay, well, normal gaiters aren't going to work, and so I looked around, but
how did those work?
They were great, minus the fact they were so heavy. I think that's what contributed to breaking me with the pack, was that was an extra 3 pounds I had.
A lot of weight. How did they connect? How did they work? Like going over your?
There was like a drawstring.
Okay.
And then there was like Velcro, so they would like wrap around, and it was super quick. Like I didn't waste any time, and they went up. There was multiple times I went up to like above my like shin.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I mean, and sometimes like there was at the end. There's one that's like waist deep.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of water crossings, but like those things were great, and I don't remember where I was going with that.
You were just kind of talking about that part of the trail, but having those, I kind of lost track there too, I guess. Well, you were just talking about, I think, just having those and the extra weight and how you had some spots you had to cross water.
Yeah. I think those really like helped, but you know,
it was during, you were saying, in the night.
Oh, in the night, yeah.
With the pigs and
the
stuff.
shoes, yeah, the shoes like they're above the ankles, are waterproof. Well, when you roll your ankle, like I haven't dealt with like a above the ankle like ankle sprain since, you know, like I played basketball regularly, like when I was a kid, you know, and you roll your ankle. And so what happened was I rolled my ankle pretty bad, my left ankle above the ankle.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Too.
And it was like, I was like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. And when it happened, it was like mile 8 into that section. And then, you know, by the end of it, I knew that the last 6 miles were super runnable. I was like, I'm going to run every step of this last 6 miles because it's a slow.
And that was the part that you said was like is that the part that you said had been really well maintained or whatever?
No, not yet. That's the next section. So this is section 4 of 8. And I finished this section at like, I think 4:30 or 5 in the morning. And I knocked on Zach's window of his car, and he like woke up and like let me in. And I was like, dude, I got to sleep for 30 minutes. And I curled up in the front seat and slept for like 30 minutes because my ankle hurt so bad at that point. I woke up like 45 minutes later. You know, I was supposed to sleep 30, whatever. And my ankle felt a little bit better. I was like, oh, the sleep, like the 30 minutes like did wonders on it. And so I ate a bunch of food, and then I went back out on the next section. And the next section is the clear, pristine, you know, buttery single track trail.
Yeah.
And I started running on that, and the ankle kind of hurt, but I was like, I think this is okay because the trail was like so much more runnable. And it was called the Karkagi section, and I think I felt like every step of that section. And I was very confident when I finished it. That section, Zach had gotten some bacon and some avocados. And,
really motivates you.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, it was so much bacon, so much food, and I just grapes. I was like eating everything, and I was having a great time. Like it was. I actually got to run it, and I was having fun. My aunts were there. Everyone was talking. And so I was like, I just want to charge off on the next section. And it's like a 23-mile section. I was like, it won't be that bad. It's, you know, I'd studied that. I'd never run it, but it looks pretty solid. And I started running it, and I felt pretty good. The last 10 miles of that section, I mean, it was like awful. I was like barely hiking / jogging, and then sometimes I would just like, I was so tired at that point. I probably had like.
Well, yeah. What do you think your total amount of sleep was at this point?
12 hours
over 3 days.
The entire thing was like 12 hours. I think.
For the entire race was 12.
Yeah.
So that's crazy considering they say you're supposed to get like 7-8 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah, it was not. I think it was like up to that point I had like 8 hours in 2 days. I think. And yeah, my body wasn't recovered, but I kept laying down in the woods in the grass and the leaves. And I was just like, I just got to lay down. Like, it feels good to just lay down. And so I would lay down, and then I'd be like, I got to get up. Like, I got to keep going. I can't just, like, take a nap here. Like, so I laid down, like, 3 or 4 times. I felt really good. And then, you know, the feral pigs came back, and they were, like, everywhere.
Tracking you.
Yeah, they're tracking me. And so that was kind of motivated me. And then I saw, like, a little fire in the distance, and Zach had created another fire. And my wife was there with her friend, Shauna, and our 2 dogs. So I got to see them, and they had prepared soup. And, like,
nice.
It was really nice to see them. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sleep for, 4 hours and then get back out and then basically just finish this thing.
So this whole time, have you been monitoring, like, where you're at, how much time you've spent, and then, like, all right, I got to get going to beat this freaking record?
So I...
Now, does it count? Like, when you stop, it still counts towards your time,
totally,
right?
Yeah. It's all inclusive.
Right.
And so, like, I have this pretty cool Garmin watch, and it has 31-hour battery life. When I bought it, I was like, that's going to be enough. I'm not going to do anything over 31 hours. But you can charge it on the go. So this basically had everything charged. So I kind of knew it was like a running total of the time. And I knew that the record was, it was 4 days and 11 hours. And I knew that, so like I was kind of doing the math, but I'm really terrible at math during ultras, so like I really tried not to do it. But I knew that like I had been the last 3 sections I had done very quickly, comparatively. Like they were like 7-8 hours per section, and if I continued at that pace or a similar pace, then I would be well under the record. Assuming nothing major went wrong. So I kind of knew that it was a possibility, assuming nothing went wrong, but I didn't think I was going to roll my ankle, as bad as I did.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was in the back of my head. But when I went to sleep, I was like pretty spent. Like my ankle was messed up. It was swollen.
Yeah, I can't imagine having rolled an ankle and then going out and continuing on it like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I was pretty. I have a photo of it. I'll show it to you later. It's like it looks like somebody dropped a box of bricks on my.
Jesus.
It's just like very swollen, and my wife's friend was a nurse, and so that was like when I woke up and I tried to like. I was like trying to get an extra hour of sleep, and they were like, absolutely not. Like, get out of the car. Because at that point, they hadn't slept very much either. So,
yeah.
Like, honestly, the crew does like more work at that point than I'm. Not really, probably, but like
right,
comparatively,
yeah.
Like they're not running. So, like, they got to stay awake and stuff.
Right.
So they were amazing. But I was like, hey, Shauna, am I going to do long-term damage to this if I continue to run on it? And she's like, no. And I was like, okay, like tape that thing up and let's get back out there and
push through it.
Yeah, there was I used to tell people like if the bone ain't showing, keep on going, so
that's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, I went back out there. So.
And then wrapped it up. Like what was
I think the final 48 miles was like 14 hours. And I ended up like right when I started back up, I was like, it was in dark, and it was all the feral pigs were back, and I was like marching with my trekking poles because I use trekking poles, like these super lightweight running ones, and I just remember like hitting the ground and it snapped.
Oh shit!
And then like 10 minutes later, I hit the other one on the ground and it snapped. I was like, this is crazy. Like these are supposed to be like super industrious, but yeah. So I threw them in my backpack, and I didn't have trekking poles for the last 48 miles, but which really I think helped.
How did
with
they
that.
snap? Do you know?
I have no idea. It's like, and there's like inside the trekking pole, there was like a string.
Beat through it for the last multiple days.
They survived all those Teton trips, and
yeah,
one of them was like bent,
Yeah, they probably just had their life, man. That was it. They needed to make the final amount a little. It's amazing, though. Like, I remember when I first did a backpacking trip with my brother, he's like, you might want to get some hiking poles. I was like, I don't need those.
Yeah.
But he was like, I'm going to bring some extra ones.
And they were a game changer,
yeah,
right?
I was like, man, I can't believe how much those help.
Yeah, it's the stability and like,
yeah.
And running with them is actually like, if they're lightweight enough, it's pretty great.
Yeah, I don't even know about running with them. That was just definitely hiking.
Sure.
So that was it. So at what point, was it the last day where you were like, holy shit, man, I'm about to blow this record out of the water?
No, I wasn't even really thinking about the record, honestly. I was just like, I just need to get done. Like, this is fun, but like, I'm kind of over it. And then, like, I would say the last probably like 5 hours, I started ingesting caffeine, maybe 6 hours. And there's these like specific energy gels that had caffeine, and I had strategically not taken a lot of caffeine in leading up to the race.
So at the end you could really
like
take
hammer
a hit
it.
of it. Yeah.
And so I think I ingested like, I don't know, like 300 milligrams of caffeine in the last, 5 or 6 hours. So at that point I was all amped up. I was like ready to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was, I was moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I was running a lot of it. And there's a creek, it's called Kudaway Creek, and one of the guys that had the previous FKT, the supported FKT, he actually I think had to like wade partway through it because it was like he would have had to swim across. Is that the one that was above
the waist? Or
yeah. He would have had to like swim across. It was like flash flooding, so he had to do some like a thing where he like went to partway through and then like went around it and then went back into the river and then But so I told Zach, I was like, hey, meet me there so to make sure it's like safe or whatever. And I like didn't see anyone on the other side, and so I just like crossed, and it was like not anything crazy. But then I didn't see him, so I just kept running, and I'm going up this like cliff side that's kind of steep, and it's like a little trail through the cliff side, and my headlamp flickers. And I was like, that's not good, And so I keep moving, and I pick up the pace a little bit, and then it just shuts off. And I was like, okay, that's okay. I have a backup. So I put my backup in, and I'm like kind of jogging a little faster because I was like, what if the backup dies? And then all of a sudden that flickers.
Oh, Jesus.
And then like.
What time is this, would you guess?
Probably like 9:30.
At night?
Yeah. And I'm like climbing up, like,
right when it's about the
last 4 miles, and then I was like, okay, well, the cool thing is like I was in the military, they always said like have a backup of the backup of the backup type of thing, so like I had another backup of like not a rechargeable battery, but it had like individual batteries in it. So I was like searching through my pack for that, and like at the last place I stopped, I had taken it out to reduce weight. And so I was like, okay, well, I have my phone. I'll use the flashlight. And so I like look at my phone. It has 1%. And I was like, oh, shit. So what I did was I basically like did sprints. So I turned the flashlight on and I would like run as fast as I can down the trail. And then until I was like out of breath. And then I would like turn the flashlight off, catch my breath, do it again. And I did that like maybe 6 or 7 times. And then the phone died.
Jesus.
Yeah. So then I think
now you're on the last couple miles.
It's like 2.5, 3 miles.
Dark, no phone.
No phone, no light. The cool thing was like I was so geeked out on caffeine that like, it's probably not like.
I just flew the rest of the way.
Yeah, well, like Zach had given me his trekking poles at the last stop, so I had some for the last 12 miles. And what I was doing was like I was like hitting them on the ground, and I was finding the hard packed trail as opposed to the leaf covered non-trail.
Now, how dark is it? 'Cause is there like some light from the moon or anything, or how dark was it?
It took probably like 15 to 20 minutes for me to get some semblance of night vision. But it was pretty dark because the tree cover, but you could see, like, if you looked up, you could see where the trail kind of like was cut a little bit. So I was trying to like figure out these like night moving techniques on the fly. And so like the best thing that I found was like using the trekking poles to find the trail. But I was like moving at like 25-minute miles, but I was like running into trees, falling down multiple times. You know, like thorns were getting caught on my face. It was really annoying.
Yeah.
But I was still all amped up on caffeine, so I didn't really care. And then I saw the road that I knew that you cross the road and there's this little bridge, and then it's like half a mile to the end. So then I saw some headlamps, and I was like, okay, I must be moving in the right direction. And then it turns out it was like my wife and her friend and Zach, and we all walked it out together, which I thought was kind of fitting. And
nice.
Yeah, the sign, there's like a little sign that doesn't even say it's the end of the Ozark Trail or anything. It's just like a sign. We all took a picture next to it, and then basically hopped in the cars and all drove 6 hours home.
Ate a giant meal.
We ate McDonald's, and
I remember that was after some of the backpacking trips that we'd done. Like the meal, like going and getting like just a giant meal afterwards was felt so good.
It was very satisfying. Well, I slept in the back. We have a hammock with the 2 dogs, and I would say I blacked out because I like after I ate the McDonald's, like I woke up in our garage, like, and we had like stopped in, and we like stopped in St. Louis, and I don't even know, but
shit, with only having 12 hours of sleep or whatever, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that was and it was fun.
That's intense, man.
Yeah,
I can't imagine having to do that after, especially like the injuries and stuff you're dealing with right at the beginning, and again, just coming back to it's so amazing how big of a stuff like that and just any kind of record-setting things or long things, endurance is just like the mental, keeping the mental strength is almost as important as the physical. Totally. If you don't have that, then you just already... Because, I mean, how many times you think about it, like when you said you lay down in the woods, you're like, oh, I could just stay here. This feels pretty good.
Yeah. No, but you do that more and more, and then like that's why in ultras they always say like never sit in the chair, right, at an aid station, because if you sit in that chair, it's like that moment of comfort, around the fire, and then you're like, oh, maybe if I got something hot and then a blanket, and it's like all these other creature comforts, right. And it's like so
we did the backpacking trips that we did 2 kind of, I guess you could call them, I mean major for me, but we did the Asgard's Pass up into the enchantments.
Okay.
Which was freaking awesome. It's right there by
Leavenworth, right?
Yeah, Leavenworth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh my God, so beautiful up there.
Did you do the whole the 22 miles of the enchantment?
No, we didn't do the end.
Okay.
We just got up into the enchantments, went to the edge of like there's a pond, and then you go down the mountain, back out the other way. We didn't go to that. We just went all the way up Asgard's Pass. And hiked through the enchantments to where you would go down, and kind of hung out by the pond there, and then we camped. It was crazy though, because we set up camp 2 or 3 different times, because at one point we set up camp and so many mosquitoes.
Oh, gosh.
It was crazy. Like we were laying in our tent and the whole outside of the tent, just little black dots. And we didn't want to get out. I'm like, what are we going to do? Just stay in here?
Totally.
And that was like at a nicer area where there's like a pond, and it wasn't quite, you know what I mean? It wasn't real rocky. It was kind of comfortable. And we're like, you know what? Let's just hike back towards Asgard's Pass where it's a little more rocky and
sure.
I don't know what term I'm looking for, but
alpine.
Yeah. So, and we hiked back there, and we actually ended up. My brother had this pretty sweet tent. He had these things for the corners of it, and they're just little pouches, and you fill them with rocks.
Okay.
And we camped, like, I have an awesome picture from our campsite, but we camped with the tent, like, up on just this giant rock kind of face. And there was no mosquitoes there because there wasn't
higher
really
altitude.
anything.
Yeah.
But it was just a different world up there, man. The trees, like, I always kept talking about how it was like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Like the trees are like crazy looking and
how things survive up there.
Yeah, and there's just mountain goats roaming around and you know what I mean, walking up to you and then thinking about the flow of life from like, all right, there's snowfall up here and then the snow is turning into this water which is flowing through the stream.
Sure.
And as you follow the stream through the enchantments up there, all of a sudden there's like these big lush like grass, like weird grass areas and all those like crazy trees I was talking about, and it's just super interesting, man.
There's like different climate zones.
Yes, exactly. It was very interesting. And then the other one that we did that was really cool was the Olympic Peninsula.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's like the only rainforest in the United States. So that was pretty cool to go through and experience. Very interesting seeing like just the different like mushrooms and plants, and you would see like big trees like falling over.
Yeah, it's like an ancient forest.
Yeah,
right?
but then all these other trees have grown over them, and you could just totally again see like how things work, because I mean those giant trees that have fallen are now being overtaken by other trees and kind of sucked back into the ground. And in that one, again, you know, you talked about planning and everything. Like on the Olympic Peninsula one, we had to look. There were certain spots where we had to hike down to the beach and hike along the beach and then back up into the woods. But depending on the time of day, like if you get stuck in those spots when the tide comes in, there's people that have literally died because they were in these spots and the tide came in and they couldn't get up, and there's people that died there. So it's like planning that around the tides, like when the tides are coming in. And my brother honestly took care of most of that stuff. Yeah. So I didn't have to worry too much about it. But those were kind of two main backpacking trips we did that were pretty cool.
You know, honestly, the backpacking stuff, I think it actually takes more like planning depending on the duration, you know? Yeah. Because it's just such a different, like, I was just running straight through, or in my mind, right? Like, and so, I don't know. The backpacking, I haven't really gotten that good at it. That's why my plan for next year is to do more backpacking, to try to, you know, build that toolbox. And actually, my wife and I are going to go back down to the Ozark Trail for 3 days over New Year's. Nice. With the dogs, and we're going to do like 40 miles. But not running. Right.
The leisure 40 miles.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
So what's next? You got any goals set next? Any races? What are you shooting for?
So I like within a week and a half of finishing that, I already signed up for the next race. It's called Canyons 100K. It's out in California, outside Sacramento in the mountains. It's pretty competitive. If you get first place or second place, you get what they call a golden ticket to the Western States 100, which is the country's oldest 100-mile race. It started in 1972, and it's a pretty historic race in the ultra community. And
so you have to get like accepted to it though, or whatever.
Well, there's a lottery, and you know, because of the popularity of this race, like the lottery has exploded in recent years, and you have to run a certain race, and then you put your name in the lottery. But with the pandemic, they canceled it last year.
So now there's more people even.
Yeah, so they basically put everyone that was in it last year. And so if you win one of these, like there's like 3 or 4 races, Canyons is one of them. If you get first or second, you get automatic entry into it. And actually my running coach, he got, I think, 4th place at it 2 years ago, or 3rd place. He ran like 15 hours and 20 minutes. And, you know, it's a pretty hard mountain race. And so ideally I'd like to do Western States at some point. But, you know, getting in is kind of a difficulty. But I also owe Zach. I told him I owe him 5 days.
Of like helping him complete something.
Yeah, do like whatever. So I think we're tentatively thinking about running the Superior hiking trail along the lakeshore of Lake Superior. It's 310 miles.
Wow.
And we'd do it in September, I think, at some point. Super scenic up there.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful.
I mean, honestly, those two things are probably big enough for the entire year.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to run the Ozark Trail 100 next November because I think that's, I'd like to actually just do,
Yeah.
the 100-mile distances. I like that distance a lot.
Right.
The 200,
Just 100 miles I just really like. I'm like, what do I got to run? 1 mile? I don't know if I can do that.
Well, I try to tell people, I try to sell them on the ultras because it's like a competitive eating contest in the woods.
Yeah.
You're basically just running from food station to food station.
That's hilarious.
Or not running. I mean, you can do whatever you want,
Yeah.
So
That's awesome, man. We'll maybe have to have you back to hear some, if you guys end up doing that, or maybe you guys can both come on and tell us the story of that. It's cool hearing that, and cool hearing of people from Springfield doing amazing things.
Yeah, fun. Thanks.
You were saying the lottery, when we did the enchantments thing, to actually camp up in the enchantments, they only allow like so many people like per day.
Okay, yeah.
And my brother couldn't get on the list. There was too many people, so we had to go each morning. They have a lottery, and one person, one group gets to camp up there.
Okay.
So we were there first thing, and there ended up being 4 people that wanted the spot, and we won it. We got the spot.
That's awesome.
So
yeah,
we got to camp up there. So it was just all kind of meant to be. It was really cool.
Yeah, that is a fun time. Do we have a second? I'll tell you this one story.
I think so. How are we looking over there?
Hour and 11.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead. The cameras might die on us,
Okay.
but let's just go.
Yeah,
If they die, it was great having you.
My wife, Valerie, and her friend, Alicia, went on a backpacking trip in the Tetons, right? And I had sold it to them. I was like, I had run this route before. It's 34 miles and like 8K of vertical gain. And it's super scenic. You go up a canyon and then you come back around Death Canyon and then down this valley trail. Really beautiful. Gives you a whole tour of the Tetons. And I was like, yeah, we'll do it in like 2 days, 3 nights. And it was during the solar eclipse.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, I'm not very good at planning, backpacking. So this shows why. And we drive out there and it's like, it's in the path of totality. So like, it's like the best view in the country along with like Carbondale. It like goes up into the Tetons. So like there was thousands of people that had descended, there for that. And all the camping spots in the park were taken.
Oh, shit.
So like in order to camp, we had to hike like 18 miles the first night, and like, I don't know, it was like 5,000 feet of vert, and so we started, and like no one was signed up, like we were not even I was signed up like to do 18 miles with a 60-pound pack, the first night, or however many pounds, I don't know how much it was, but and we ended up doing 18 miles the first night, and we finished
Did they hate you?
They hated me. Yeah, they absolutely hated me. We finished at like 11 p.m. and it was at like 9,000
Time to set up
feet.
camp.
Yeah, it was really bad. So I don't know if Alicia will ever come on a backpacking trip with us again.
Just gonna want a more detailed plan.
Yeah, I mean the eclipse was really cool.
I bet it was.
Yeah, it was at
That's
like
cool.
9,000 feet, and yeah, the birds started chirping and the sun. Yeah, but. Yeah, so that's why I should stay away from planning for backpacking trips.
Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on and sharing that story with us again. It's cool that you hold that record. Yeah. So what if somebody beats it? You can go back there and try to beat it again, or just accept it?
I think I'm going to accept it. I did think, though, that I want to become the person that could do that run unsupported, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I could aspire to.
That's tough, man. I could, just carrying that extra weight, and I can't imagine doing it unsupported. That's nuts. Do you know what the fastest time is unsupported?
There wasn't one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was trying to establish it, which I could have if I just like didn't quit, but the next water source was like 3 miles from where I was, so I don't know, but
is like setting a Guinness record, does that, they don't like try to like work together on that or anything? This like fastest known times
No,
or
I don't,
anything?
because I don't know what Guinness requires.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little bit more extensive than
Right.
what FKT does. But
That'd be pretty cool to have
yeah.
a Guinness record for something.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Let's if you think of something, let me know. That's
Try to get him to approve your Ozark Trail time there.
Yeah.
Come on, man, it's the FKT.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. All right, Joe. Well, it was great having you on.
Thanks.
I don't know if you have any interest in giving out shout outs or anything to social media handles or anything like that, but feel free to.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Joey Likes Rocks.
Joey Likes Rocks.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's my Instagram. I'm not really on Twitter or anything. You
Yeah.
can find me on Facebook. I'll befriend you.
Do you ever on your social media? Do you ever kind of like post during your kind of trips on long stuff like that? Obviously, when you're trying to set a record, you probably try to avoid that or whatever. But
No, I post all the time, and for this, I can't believe I didn't mention it, but I did the fundraiser for Food and Water Watch, the hat here. I raised $7,800 for them.
Nice.
Yeah, so the goal was 15, but it's okay. 7,800 was still a pretty. They try to stop water shutoffs in the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, so that was fun to do it for a cause. I hadn't really done that before, so
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
Well, good work, man.
Thanks.
That's amazing.
yeah, cool.
Thanks a lot for
Andrew.
coming
Thanks
on.
for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.